Okay, bye. Okay, I think we're live. Sorry, we were just having trouble going live, and I think now we're live. Good, it worked. Uh, Good morning, everyone. We are here for our 5th Google Hangout, and today you have just us, the team. Stacia, Brittany, Caroline, Jessica, and Henry, and Lillian, who is here to play piano for us, of course, Milan, who is here to help with demonstrations. So we are here to answer all your questions about the course so far, so just go ahead and start sending in your questions, and we'll get going. So if anybody's out there, and maybe people aren't awake yet, but we can go ahead and start with a few questions that have already come in beforehand. So what do we want to start with today? Caroline.
You want Caroline to start, or do you want me to start?
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What is some advice for working with other teachers, students in a group or coaching setting?
Okay, well, I'll talk about how we do it here at Northwestern. All of our teachers, we have a very small program, and so our strength program is really like a lab school for the students in our pedagogy class. So all the teachers are trained in the same way, in the same method. So we all work together as a team, and which means that whenever we're in group classes and we're working with our kids, we're all going to be teaching them in the same bowings, the same fingerings, and all of that. So what we tell each other's students, we would tell to our own students, and then we have a teachers meeting every week, and we talk about what's going on with all of our kids, and so we all work together. It's kind of like a village. It takes a village, and we all raise these kids together. So I think that probably, I would ask all of our teachers here to chime in on this and what they think about it. So go right ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with Stacia. And we do work with each other's students every week in group class. And honestly, when one of the kids is doing something weird, we've all said something, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my teacher said that a million times." We just work on it, but it is tricky, like when you're coaching a chamber group at a high school or something, and they're doing strange things, and maybe no one's told them, or maybe their teacher has, but you can just address it like you would, and help the student. That's all you can really do is help the student.
Caroline?
Yeah, I agree with that. And then if you know the teacher and if you're comfortable mentioning it, or if you're not sure, I think I wrote on the forum, I would frame it more as asking for advice, not as an attack. Like your student has a terrible bow hold and I can't believe I'm the first person to say something. You could say, I noticed that this was going on. I would assume that the teacher has addressed it, because it would mean they're a pretty bad teacher if it's something as egregious as bow hold that they've never discussed. So I would just say, what has worked for this student? What do you think would be the best way for me to address it? And I think you could probably get some really helpful advice, because the private teacher knows the student better. So I would defer to the private teacher, see if you can get their input.
Okay, good. Brittany?
I think in our program, the benefits are definitely that we know each other really well as teachers, and I've done coachings for chamber music or like an orchestra sectional where you don't actually know the teachers and you don't really have the time to reach out to like 15 different private teachers. But I think that something that's really important is not to put the student in a situation where they have to choose between your advice and their private teacher's advice. So I think sometimes just asking simply, like, has your teacher addressed this before? Or what has your teacher told you about your bow hold? And then they can give you like a quick, oh yes, they have actually told me to relax my hand. But I think in general, if you're reminding a student to relax and stay loose, and you see tension, I mean, tension is never good regardless of whoever the teacher is. And I think that most of us would agree that just addressing that is a bigger problem. So. But yeah, I would just defer to the private teacher if they have a certain technique that they're using, and as Caroline mentioned too, like they might be just focusing on one thing first and not necessarily addressing all of their setup issues at one time. So
I think with the setup, that's a big important one. If the kid is having real obvious problems, you might want to say, well, let's try this. Like if it's a setup situation and maybe they aren't using any kind of a shoulder rest, you could say, well, let's just try this and see if you're more comfortable. And then you can ask your teacher if it's okay. I mean, we deal with we have all of our kids. We really push them to play in their school orchestras. We support that. It's very important, and so we hope to work in tandem with the teachers there. And we've had really, I think, good luck with that. And I think the teachers that we've come in contact have been respectful of us, and I think us of them. So I think it's just really just being respectful and trying to make, if a student needs to make a little change, you can do it in a nice way, but like adding a sponge or something like that, if they just to try. So okay, good.
Yeah, actually, sorry if I could just add, I actually have had a couple of issues with orchestra teachers who I wish had asked me questions about my own students instead of, because I had 2 people come in, this has been actually just within the last month, with bigger instruments when I didn't ask them to get bigger instruments, and it was because their orchestra teacher asked them to get a bigger instrument. So that was a case where I really wish that someone had sent me an email so I would have been able to explain, this is why I don't think this student is ready for a big instrument right now. And so I had to send them back to the violin shop because they were playing on instruments that were way too big. So having been on the other side of that, I think that's why I would really insist on checking in with the private teacher, because it really doesn't feel good when your students make a change without consulting you, just because another adult, especially if they're really young, they don't really know the difference or the etiquette there. It's just a grown-up told them to do something, so they feel like they need to do it.
Yeah, and then you can tell the teacher that the reason I have them on the smaller instrument is better. It's better that it's a little bit smaller than too big, and blah blah blah. Your reasons. So, okay, good. Do we have questions that are coming in that you want to?
Yeah, there's another question here asking how to engage the quieter and shy students in group class and make them feel comfortable.
Okay, so Brittany, well, you're a group teacher. Go ahead and run with that one.
I think something that for quieter and shy students, I think that giving them a chance to kind of shine as a leader can sometimes be really fun. You might have other students try first and give them a chance to. I think with some in my class, I've actually just stood up there with them and said, like, let's lead together, and you can try it by yourself next time. And, I think a lot of times they're just scared to try something in front of everyone. So kind of stepping along with them. I know in the discussion forum, someone mentioned being able to move on, and you might have someone that just doesn't want to try something. And I think sometimes you can't just hold the class back with that one student. Just try to get them involved as you go. But I think something like having them lead is a good chance for them to be up front and get their chance. Sometimes they just don't want to talk, and playing is fine. So it depends on every student is different. So
that actually works really well. We always say, okay, who wants to be the leader for eggs? Who wants to be the leader for this and that? And of course, after somebody starts it, then everybody wants to do it, and usually even the shy kids want to be a leader. So I think that just engaging them, but if they don't want to do anything, then I think it's okay to leave them and let them just be in their own space. And usually they kind of come around. And then always so especially I'm thinking of the beginning group class now, and we always put, after we've played games and things like that, we put our instruments away and we sing and we do the sunflower and all of that, and that all the kids are really engaged in that, and they might not be singing, but they're actually then doing the motions of do re mi fa sol la ti do, and they're participating. So shy kids do come around. I always tell the story of Coralie, who one of my students who she was really little. Her mom brought me to her when she was 2, and I said, come back in 2 years. And so she came back the next year when she was 3, And I said, okay, I'll teach her. And we spent pretty much the whole year. She never spoke, and she never did anything. I had to do everything for her, and I had to do the clapping, and we would sit down and draw on the board and draw notes, and I would help her with every single thing, plucking, all of that. And it was pretty interesting because, well, she's graduated from college now, and but when we did some traveling, we went to Europe. We were in France, and she spoke fluent French, and so she was our would stand up at the beginning of the concerts and speak. It's funny that she started out not speaking at all, and then she would end up speaking, and when we traveled and all of that. So anyway, that's a good question.
Stacia, can I add something?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think in our beginning group class, which is really, really a fun idea, is giving the kids a chance to connect with a little bit of coloring or drawing at the end of class, and so they know each other. I think sometimes kids are just really shy because they don't know each other. So that's kind of a fun way.
Yeah, that's something that I love to do. So we always sit down on the floor, get out the markers, the big bin of markers and paper, and we learn to draw our notes. We learn to draw the tas, and we clap, and we pick different colors for the different notes, TTs, tiri-tiris, and then we also draw violins, and then we decorate the violins, and that's a big favorite. We learn to draw big treble clefs, and we decorate those. Everybody can take them home, put them on the refrigerator, and wall art or whatever. But that's when they become connected with each other, and they get to know their peers, and so then it's fun to come to group, and they really look forward to it. And then part of that, the violin is very difficult. What we're asking them to do is a lot, and it's very difficult, even though we don't tell them that. And so it's nice to be able to put the instrument down and just draw some pictures and have fun coloring. So.
And with the older classes, we play like Awesome, that game, and they can build team and get to know each other better in the older classes too, because we don't color with the older kids.
Right. The older kids, we start doing more theory and in the group classes and things like that, and so we do have some games where they actually have to be on teams.
Yeah, and they get to know each other and know their names, and they bond, and then the quiet kids talk to the other kids.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, good. More questions? Maybe we should do...
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting my microphone. So the next question is, so we would need Milan for this. So this is, could you demonstrate in that excerpt of Happy Farmer how to guide the left hand and help keep each finger loose without making the student uncomfortable? Because some people talk about they're worried about jamming the instrument into the student's neck, and so can you show some do's and don'ts for guiding the left hand?
Sure. Okay, so come on in here, Milan. And what we're going to do, let's see, we'll do this a little closer so that you can see. Yeah. We're going to take a little section of the Happy Farmer, and I'm going to practice with her. We're going to start with the martelette finger before the bow. I'm going to help her at first, and we'll do it with our détaché. So I'll help her with the bow, and then I'm not going to help her. I'm just going to focus on her fingers. So we'll go open, finger, finger, 3, 2. That's it. Okay, good. So now you try that by yourself. Let's just start on the C, da, da, C. Open A. D. 2. 1. Good. And remember, leave the 1 down until the 3rd finger is set. That's it. And then, what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that her thumb is not squeezing and that everything is very relaxed and every finger that comes off is relaxed and turns into a noodle, and making sure that her hand position is good. And I'm not really jamming this into her neck or anything like that. I'm just helping her hold it up a little bit. Or actually, it's really just to keep it steady while I do the guiding. Can you try that now with the smooth bows? Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's it. Good. I think that's pretty much how you want to do it. I think if you're just aware that you're not pushing the violin into the neck of the student, and that you're always working on keeping their position up and their hands, both of them, very relaxed. Next question.
Okay, so this person wants to know the transition, how to transit from using hands-on guidance to more independent playing by the student, and is it related to the age, ability, character of the student, and do you recommend using the physical guidance with adult students?
Um, that's a good question. So in the beginning, obviously, it's going to be a lot more hands-on, and the student's going to need a lot more help. And so usually in the lessons, like in the beginning lessons, it's pretty much almost all the time. I always give the students a chance to do it by themselves because they really want to do it by themselves. So let's say it's my turn now. Let's hear you do it by yourself. And as they start to get older, you don't have to be as hands-on. And I think it's a gradual thing, but I'm always right there with my student, whether it's to, okay, remember to do this. Sometimes I'll have a student they grow, they get out of whack, and then all of a sudden they come in and everything's out of kilter, and so you have to make the little adjustments. But it might be just as simple as putting a hand here, or when they come to the frog, wait, let's just check this. It's just a little bit. And with my older students, as the students get older, it becomes less and less if you've done your job well. So I think lots of hands-on in the younger stages, and then as they get older and they don't have to do it as much. And one thing to remember, noticed that on the site that a lot of people were thinking, a lot of people were stating that that maybe it was too much and that it was too teacher-guided, and the student never had a chance to play by themselves. But the thing is the kid sees us only a half an hour, maybe a week, and then in group class. And so they spend all those hours and the rest of the time pretty much by themselves. Hopefully the parents are practicing with them, and we've shown them how to guide the fingers and bows, so they're getting a chance to work with their parents at home. But they do a lot of work without us, so we have to remember that they are playing on their own a lot. And I think that's it. So does any of the other teachers, can you make comments to this question?
He asked about adult beginners too, and I do the same thing with adults. I help them, I guide them. I have one adult student that's starting with her little girl, and that's cute, and I do the same thing with both of them. And then she goes home and does it with her daughter. It's adorable.
Good. Brittany, Caroline, anybody else?
I've worked with a few adult students, and they all have different comfort levels. I think figuring out what they're comfortable with is important. Sometimes I tell them I just really need to show you how to do this. Let me show you once, and then you can try it by yourself, and I'll just adjust it when it needs some extra guidance or something. But I think I've kind of just tried to explain to them why it will benefit them if I can actually guide them physically, and they're typically okay with it once they realize. Sometimes people just don't like being touched, or they want to try it by themselves first. But sometimes doing a videotape too can show them, this is what it looks like when you're doing it, and then I need to help you, and then let's videotape it afterwards and see if it's any better. So that's what I've tried.
Okay, good.
Yeah, adult students are tricky because they can intellectualize everything so much more than the students, but then because they've worked out everything in their heads, their brains are usually so far ahead of their fingers, and they get really frustrated quickly if they can't get something on the first try. With some of them, not with all. Some of them are more patient, but I have one right now who really hates being adjusted. I was doing a lot of hands-on adjustments at the beginning, and then she was in, she just came into one lesson and was like, you know what, can we not do hands-on adjustments? And obviously that's not the way I would prefer to teach her, but I do want to honor that, and so I've been focusing on trying to explain everything really well verbally. As we've continued the last few weeks. Usually I'm able to get 1 or 2 adjustments in if I ask permission first and if I explain why I want to do this. You know, if I just want to reset the angle of the bow before she starts playing just so it's straight, and then she can work on keeping it straight. But it's tricky because adult students tend to have a lot more trouble reducing tension at the beginning. And I think my personal opinion is I think they need all of the hands-on adjustments that they can get, just because their arms are not naturally going to cooperate the same way that a kid's hands will. But you have to respect it if they don't want it.
Right. Yeah. I think about with the hands-on adjustment. I think about like when I go to a yoga class, and I have a teacher who maybe doesn't make any adjustments for anything, and then there's a teacher who does make adjustments, and it's amazing the difference. And it might just be a hand here, you know, or here, or whatever position you're in. They might come and just do a little slight adjustment, and it makes all the difference in the world. And you can feel, you know, how everything just kind of flows and comes together. And so I always think about that with the guiding of what we do with our teaching the violin, and how important it is, even if it's just a little, even if it's just a touch. It's just a reminder. Keep your shoulder down. Try not to squeeze this muscle, and you just touch it, and you almost don't even have to say anything. So that's the important good things about it. Okay, good. Do we have more questions?
This kind of goes on with what we were talking about, but ideas for older beginners, like 9 to 10-year-olds.
Okay, so I think we can all chime in on this one. Just always remember that the principles are always the same, no matter what level you're playing at. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, the pedagogy is the same. You just need to change the repertoire a little bit, or maybe your approach and how you deal, because the way you deal with an adult is not going to be the way that you deal with a child, or a little 4-year-old, or a 10-year-old, or somebody who's 15 or 16. So I think that you can. I always give them our pre-twinkle packet with everybody, just practicing shh, shh, and see the little monkey and A, E, A with the bow, because it's just all the real basics, and the plucking, just to set the hand. And then you can choose to use whatever repertoire you like. If you want to use the Suzuki books, you could go through those. Let's say you have somebody who maybe they had played a long time ago and had used the books, but they only went up through a couple books and they don't really want to do those. You can find other repertoire that's similar, and as long as you're getting in all of those principles and what Mimi Zweig likes to call the pivotal moments, these are the real important places where we're adding something, maybe the next level, the next step of technique. Oh, we're going to start to use the whole bow now, so I need to find a piece that's going to do that. Oh, we need to learn how to play with just our third finger, or all the different keys are pivotal moments, things like that. Other teachers, would you like to chime in?
Something I've done with my older beginners, a lot of times I'll ask them why they're playing the violin, why they want to learn, and a lot of times it's something that they have a piece that they want to play, or they would really like to be able to play with one of their friends that already is a violinist or violist. And I think with one of my students, she just really wanted to play pieces like the Swan. So we worked for a while on all the, she had already been playing, but we worked a while on technique and everything like that, and that was kind of a reward for her, but we just arranged it so it was at a level that she could play. And I think something like that is really exciting for them, because it's, putting a goal into, reality, which is really exciting for, someone so,
Yeah, I think popular music is good for older kids and older students. They have pieces that they love, all the musicals that are out, Frozen, this, that, whatever. They want to play those pieces. So, as Brittany said, you can actually arrange them so they might be simpler.
Yeah, I have a bunch of older beginners right now. I have two 10-year-old boys who are they're two parts of triplets, and so one is violin and one is viola, and then their brother takes cello downstairs. And but they're like 10 going on 19. They like have zero interest in anything that sounds like a kid song. So so I mean, I take out the stomping for like GDG. You know, it's just a rest instead of making them stomp and do the footwork. And so I think, and they're moving through it really quickly anyway. So it's going a little bit quicker with them than it would. So I'm kind of pushing them through the kids pieces. So because they're really interested in starting the Suzuki program, but they're also really smart. So they're set up well and they practice really well at home. So they actually make things a little bit easier because they can understand a little bit faster.
One thing that I'd like to do, I know we had questions, a lot of questions about a couple of the bow strokes, the hooked bowing, because there was a mistake that we didn't catch in the videos. I think we all reviewed it and somehow it slipped right by us. So we're going to do the hooked bowing in the Happy Farmer. I think it jumped to the travel bow. And then we're also going to demonstrate the travel bow. We have Milan here this morning with us to do this. So I think that we should do this now, and then we can go back to more questions, and this is an important topic. Okay, I'm going to move over here. Okay, so can we see? Can everybody see? Come over here. Yeah, good. Okay, so with the hooked bowing, we just want to remember. Let me get my violin real quick. It's our connected bow, and so with this one, it's the dotted quarter note tied to the eighth note in the Happy Farmer. So we're going to we call it ta dot if we use the Kodai method. Ta dot. So we have the kid play to the dot, stop the bow on the dot in the string, and then release. So basically we're working on the short note, we're getting the other one for free. So we're going to go ta dot, and then we stop in the string, bite the note, let go. Ta dot, stop in the string, and then let go. So that's bite, bite. And I always want to listen for the ringing, have the student listen for the ringing sound. Now, the travel bow, I'll just demonstrate those real quick, and then we'll have Milan demonstrate and play. So the travel bow is when we're traveling to, when we need to be in a different part of the bow, and we have to make our way there. So we gradually just move it up this way. So like, let's see. So here would be to the frog, stop in the middle. So we're going to, instead of, so we're stuck at the tip then. So we're going to go, and we're going to, so we might do a little less on the down, a little more on the up, and a little less there, because we want to go back to the middle. And then I think somebody asked if this was the same as what Mimi calls the wandering bow. I think so. I know that we do the wandering bow when we're first learning to do our whole bows, and so we practice what is a travel bow. So wander, wander. So these are bow strokes that you can do, practice before it'll come to little children, long, long ago. Just traveling, 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 traveling. Wander, 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 wander. Right? Okay, good. All right, Milan, let's try this. So first, let's do this on the open A string, or actually, let's go to the D string, and no fingers. So we're going to put our hand up here. Come over this way more, so you're more in the picture. There we go. So I'll help you first, okay? So we're going to start up. Dot, 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 stop, release. Okay, let's try that. So go up, dot. Good. And you know what? You don't have to put such a big accent on the stop. We actually don't want to accent it because I don't think, it's the end of a note and there's really not an accent there. So just stop the bow. ta, dot. See how we stopped it in the string? Stop. So you don't have to work so hard. Try it. Ta, dot. Good. And I hear your violin ringing. That's really nice. Good. Okay, so let's try this from the beginning. So we'll go ta, dot, ta, dot. That's it. Good. Let's do it again. So try just that. Up, ta, dot. Good. And then that brings to another point. We always want to make sure we stop the bow at the end of the previous note. Stop it on the new string. So we're ready to go. So let's try that again. Ta, dot. Good. By yourself. Ta, dot. Very good. That sounds great. All right. Now the travel bow. To the frog. I always say frog. To the. And then they're at the frog. Go back to the middle. So we're going to go to, let's see. Let's do da 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 da. Start on the B. To the frog. Stop. That's it. Good. So do that again. Da 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 dum. Yeah, and that's so that you don't have to go. Let's see. You can do two, and then so maybe not so much. You don't want to kick any of the eighth notes. Da 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 da. Try that again. That's it. Okay, good. So we're going to have her play this piece with the piano and watch her hooked bowing and travel bow. Okay. Come over and picture the floor. Let's see. Whatever other piece that I'm going to have Milan play before we move on, just so that you can hear the piano part with the there's all the pretty little ponies, and I think in the video we didn't have the pianist play. We didn't have a pianist with us to play the part, and it's really beautiful. And my friend Carmen Tellez wrote the part, so we're really happy about that. So this is our piece that we're playing in our minor key, and with long, beautiful, slow bows. So let's do all the pretty little ponies. nice. Good. Thank you. Thanks, Lillian. Okay, thank you so much. All right, good job, Lillian. Let me get the violin out of the way. This little piece, you can change the bowing, do whatever you like with it. You can add slurs, although, anyway, it's a nice little piece, and I just wanted to have her play that with the piano part. Okay, let's go on with our questions.
All right, our next question is wondering if we have any ideas for outlining objectives or themes for group class, not class by class, but over a semester. And they're asking, do you use a set sequence of games and activities, or are they more organic depending on upcoming recitals or specific curriculum goals everyone follows?
I think probably more organic. We schedule our classes around our concerts. So right now we're planning for our big fall group concert, and we have so many new pieces. So we really focus a lot on learning all this really wonderful new music, and then we do, like with the younger students, it's a lot easier to have our put our theory and do our games and things like that. But with the older kids, we spend pretty much the whole time working on the new repertoire. Anybody else want to add to this?
So we're in trimesters, right? In the winter quarter, we do theory and solo recitals. So we get a real chance to really work with everybody on theory in the winter quarter, and they get a chance to play their solos with the accompanist, and we work on all that. And then spring quarter, we do a group concert again. So it's similar to fall, but it's more of a culmination of the year.
Mm-hmm. Brittany?
During the winter quarter when we do theory, since we have roughly 11 weeks or so of group, I'll sit down and kind of, with the specific levels that we teach, I'll sit down and kind of just outline roughly what we want to go over, just to make sure we don't miss anything. So like for the beginners, it would just be like quarter note, half note, stuff like that, and then getting more complicated rhythms and looking at intervals, starting with, I mean, that's at the very beginning anyway for the beginning class, but going over more complicated rhythms and doing some ear training and having the kids write some parts, maybe writing scales, things like that, and you can add on to it every single week. So what I will usually do is keep a notebook of what we actually did, so that next week I know, okay, let's just review a little bit of that and then do something new. And then usually what happens is I don't get through all 11 weeks of what I wrote down, because I'll figure out, okay, the kids really struggled with melodic dictation or something for the older kids, and I think we should spend more time on that, and or you know, they actually moved really quickly through something. So it's kind of my way of like monitoring, like, okay, how are we actually doing? Because it's not usually as simple as doing week by week. So that's kind of what I've done.
Yeah, like with in the winter quarter, we usually we've gone through a lot of different theory books, and we actually end up putting our own little books together of what we want the kids to do, and which is kind of a combination of a bunch of different things, and which it covers ear training and rhythmic training and singing, and we also have them, when they get a little older, we start actually having them write little pieces. I have a really wonderful book. Again, it's another Mary Cohen book. It's called Scaly Monsters. I think it's a Mary Cohen book. And it's really fun. It's 2 pages, and it's got scales and arpeggios and little dinosaur footprints, and it has the name of dinosaurs for the rhythm. So you're playing arpeggio, a scale and arpeggio. Usually it's just 1 octave. And then you're doing these rhythmic training, and then she shows the actual fingerboard and his little dinosaur tracks on where the notes are, so they can visually see if it's whole step or half step. And then there's a little piece that's in that key, and then below it is a couple rows of staffs. And so what I do with that is I have the kids write their own music. We'll say, okay, 4 bars, 8 bars, whatever, and you're going to write in the key of G major. It has to be in the key, and then we perform it and play it. So we start to do that kind of thing with the older kids too. Okay, next question.
So the next question is about the structure of our group classes. So how do we handle older beginners in group with the age difference if there are a bunch of little kids and then a bunch of older students in one class? So do we stagger the groups? Do we put them in separate classes? And can you talk about how our groups are organized by age and level?
Our groups are organized by age, level, and where they are in the sequence of repertoire. So we'll call, our beginning class, well, pre-twinkle class, then we'll call our next group like a book one class, and then two, and so on and so forth. As far as older beginners, we have, and right now in our group class, we have 4, I think, like brand new 4-year-olds, kids that have just turned 4, and then we have some that are 7. And I think that's probably about as wide as you want that age range to go in a class. And usually if there's more than one of, like especially with the older kids, so they don't feel like babies being in a younger class, that's good if there's more than one. And then usually what I do is to try and give them a chance to maybe be more of a helper. Can you lead this for us? Can you do this and help me? And that, so they feel more like grown up, and they feel like they're not with being so baby, and I think that helps. If the kids are older, like a lot of older beginners, we don't have a group for them at this point. I would love to. Okay, let's all have a 10-year-old beginner class, but we just don't. So what we usually do is we have the kids say, all right, you know what, we're going to not have you in group right now, and you're going to practice and have lessons, and then when you're ready to go into the class, when they're ready to go into a class that is more of age appropriate, then we put them in there. And usually it's not that long, because these kids move a little bit faster. They move faster than the younger ones. And then there's always older beginners somewhere, and so some of these classes, the ages are a little bit different, but it's okay because they've got other kids who are their peers in age. Anybody else want to add to that? No? Okay. Next question.
Okay, so this person's wondering, is there any advice for getting the left thumb to loosen up when you're putting the finger down on the string, like avoiding the closing of space between the thumb and the first finger that causes like the web effect with first and thumb like together?
I don't know. You could make a tape and have their parents play it for them all night long in their sleep. Don't squeeze your thumb. That's my mantra. Don't squeeze your thumb. Don't squeeze your thumb. Over and over and over. Tapping, checking it. Have their parents check it at home. That little muscle right there. And yes, because squeezing between the first finger and the thumb is, everybody's guilty. Our thumbs are the reason that we can pick up and grab and hold things, and so that's what they want to do, is they want to hold on. And so we're putting these things in their hand, and we have to tell them to let go without dropping. So, yeah, if you all can tell me the magic word, I would love to know it. Does anybody have any suggestions? I know some people have said, oh, I'm going to tape a grape over at the side so they won't squish the grape, or I don't know. I think there's little mechanisms that people have made to put in their hands and things, but I haven't used those, so I don't know.
I've used a really, really light keychain that you can stick over their thumb as a reminder. Hopefully not a very long one or heavy one, but that's worked with a couple of my students. Some kids will just ignore it and keep playing, but I think just like during the lesson, I'll just stand right there and
yeah,
like we all.
It's just constant reminding and constantly being on it. I don't think there's any magic tool that we can put on there. So.
You remember? I think Emmett had it, and I've used it with a couple of my students. It's like that really heavy-duty Velcro that's like
mushy.
Almost no, it's like pointy. It's like hard. His dad put that on his neck for a couple weeks, so he would stop squeezing.
Was it just as a reminder?
Yeah, it was like a reminder not to press into it.
Huh. I don't remember that, but that's a good idea.
It was only for a couple weeks. It was
so maybe it worked.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Interesting.
Good.
But yeah, doing the marshmallow and not the rock.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice
A
analogy.
nice fluffy cloud. Anything that's soft.
And not like pretend you're holding something soft in there or something's living in there and you don't want to squeeze it.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, next question.
I think that's me actually. This is from Phyllis. I know. She
Phyllis?
wants to know if there are any plans for another pedagogy workshop at Northwestern or opportunities to observe your program.
Well, we have actually, I think, a couple of us have been discussing doing a little teacher workshop in the summer to follow up. I think, Brittany, weren't you and I talking about that? So it's a possibility. Um, you're welcome to come and observe anytime, but I think that would be great to do um, another teacher workshop. I think that we've done these teacher workshops here. I think we did our first one here in 2011. It was with Mimi Zweig's program at IU, and then Rebecca Henry at Peabody, and Phyllis Freeman, Maryland Talent Education, Sherry Seneft out in Wyoming, and Darcy Drexler up in Wisconsin. And we all have come together. We all have studied and worked with Mimi in one way or another. So our programs are modeled after the program there and at IU. And so we all came together here and we did a big teacher workshop and our kids performed together. We had master classes. We just went to Peabody this past spring and did the same thing. I think the next plan is to go out to Wyoming and do one, which, we will post about that and talk about that. So you're welcome to, whenever that comes up. There's been talk, I think a lot of us go to ASTA and do some things. I'm not coming this next year, but yeah, something will come up soon. Next question.
All right. These are a couple, or this is a question from the site, from the discussion forum, but how do we get a student to play with a straight bow? Or what are some additional ideas that you've used in your lessons?
Well, just having them watch, having their parents watch, guiding their bow. If they're older and can do it, looking in the mirror. I know sometimes that's confusing. Takes a little getting used to. Making a videotape so they can see. I have stuck straws in the holes, in the F holes, and so they can see that they have to keep it. I know there's all these contraptions. I've never gone down that road and bought one of the contraptions, but I have put straws in the F holes to kind of be as a guide. Anybody else add to this? That would be great.
You can also stick a pencil in there really quick if you want to, just for a quick one. But my program growing up was totally Suzuki based, and they did have the bow right thing. It was like a retainer, kind of scary looking.
Yeah, I see that. It's called bow right.
Yeah, because there was a specific question about that earlier, but I think we got.
Yeah, it's like a contraption that hooks over it and keeps the bow in on
it
the. It
literally looks like those nighttime retainers, But I think that almost acted like a crutch for my little brother when he had it. It was almost just easier for him to just really focus and look at it, because I think he was just a little boy and was looking everywhere else, and he just needed to look at it. So I've never gone to those either.
Okay. Anybody else?
I've actually had a similar circumstance with the bow right. I think it's helpful for some if they're really aware of, okay, this is going to help me know what to feel when I'm doing it on my own. But I think a lot of times when the student is really young, that can just act as a crutch, like Jessica mentioned, just mostly because it allows the student to just kind of zone out and not think about it anymore. And so that's been my fear with using those with my students, just making sure that they're really aware. A lot of times it's just looking. Like the student just needs to look, so I'll give them, let's go back to the A major scale and, watch your bow this time, and we'll just keep monitoring it with scales and other etudes or exercises.
You can put a sticker under the strings, but under the bridge, and say bow on top of the sticker, because that forces you to look at it too.
Yeah, I've seen people put tape under there and just say, just go along the highway, keep the bow straight. Anyway, so,
Yeah,
okay.
I think sometimes it's hard for younger students, I mean, even adults, depending on how your vision is, to tell whether the bow is straight. Obviously, if you look in a mirror, that's one thing, but my goal is, I mean, I want them to use the mirror, but I also want them, I've had students who I know at home are practicing in front of the mirror every single day, and then they come to the lesson and the bow is crooked. So they're depending on the mirror to tell them whether the bow is straight, and I want them to be able to tell. So you can tell when you're holding the violin up if you place the bow like on the A string, that you want the distance between the bow and the bridge to be the same on the D string, the A string, and the E string. So if you find that the bow is much closer to you on the E string and much farther away on the D string, then you know that the bow is on an angle that's off. So you're looking for a straight line there and looking for the square if you're placing the bow in the middle. So with my students, I'm just trying to get them to understand which parts of the arm are moving at which time. And that the wrist is looking the way they expect it. Because I have a couple of students now who've gotten into this habit. These are some of my beginners who like just started bowing, but in the middle, their wrist is still like sinking towards the floor. So I've been trying to get them to get a more neutral wrist in the middle, you know, and practicing like mountains and valleys and like little molehills in the middle.
I always draw a little ice cream cone right there and tell them to take a bite of their ice cream. So they'll, you know, this is only at the extreme if they're doing this. Is to get them to have that come up a little bit and they can take a bite of their ice cream cone. I think any little tool, any little thing that you can give them to think about helps. Okay, good. Next question.
So the next question is, how do you, well, why don't you clarify about what we've talked about in the videos? So you start with block fingering, and then how do you get to teach independent fingering in terms of the repertoire? Like we like to start with only threes. How do you get to the more independent fingering?
Oh, okay. Well, we start with the blocked fingering in the beginning, like in the twinkle variations, where we here, come here, Milan. Let's see, in here a little bit. Can we get a little closer? There. So let's just do. So can you plop all three fingers down on the A string? That's right. So when we're doing twinkle, plop them all down. So in the key of A major, we're teaching that block. These two fingers are connected in here, and they like to fall together anyway. So we're blocking them down so that we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And also in D major, we teach more of a blocked hand. But within the pieces, if you're using well, like in our pieces here, we start. I think it's the first time whenever you can use an only three, like in O Come Little Children. 1 E, 3 E, because we come right back to E. So there's really no reason to put all those fingers down. So we're starting to teach an independent finger on that piece. So within the pieces, you will start to see where you don't need to put the other fingers down, and that you will start to use independent fingers. Then, before you get to the key of G major, so we go through, like in our repertoire, and if you're using the Suzuki books, in the book 1 you have A major, and then in the middle section you have D major, and then you start to go to G major, and G major is where you actually really need to start to use the independent fingers. Up until that point, there's like little places in each piece that where, oh, let's use only 3 here because we don't need the other ones. But then by the time, like in the Suzuki repertoire, Allegro, dun, 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 there's no reason to put all those fingers down, right? So then in G major, we're going to do, come here, Mila. So when we get to the G major, then, and I think that these are in the downloads and on the video. I don't know if we did on the videos yet. You're going to do the little exercises, E only 3, and then low 2, C natural, B, A. So let's do that. Only 3, low 2 and 1 together, C, B, A. That's it. Good. Then we have another one that we do, A, B, C, 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 C sharp, C, high 2, low 2, high 2, low 2. So we'll do that one. High 2, low 2, high 2. B. And then we do. Then the snake charmer. Da 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 da. So we have. One, two. Whoops. Let's try that again. 2A. Now in G major, we hopefully have helped establish. We do these little exercises to help establish the key of G major. And then when we do the scale, when we're coming down, let's come down from the scale in G major. G, F sharp, E, only 3, low 2, and then that's it. Thank you. So then what happens then after that, then all the pieces in G major, you find out where there's either there's nothing after the 3, or there's a low second finger, or maybe just a 1, and then you can use only 3 and start using your individual fingers in these pieces. And then also vibrating. So when we vibrate, we want to make sure that all the fingers aren't down, that we only use one finger at a time to vibrate. So you're going to be working on that. And so it's up to us as the teachers to kind of unbreak this little blocked hand habit. But I think it's better to start with a blocked hand than not, because I've had students come in that have not been trained that way, and they're doing one finger at a time, and their hands are all contorted, and this just gives us a really nice hand frame and hand setup. So good. Next question.
I think we're out of time.
Okay, is there anything else that's coming up? No? Okay. All right, good. I think there was one more thing. I know what it was that somebody wanted to know. Oh, about the high 2s and low 2s and high, moving back and forth between those fingers. And I went to dig out my Teaching of Action in Strings, in string playing, the Paul Rowland DVD, and look through the book to find out which one it's in. And I didn't get a chance to actually go through the videos, but it's somewhere in the left hand, developing finger movements maybe. I highly recommend getting this DVD. This is fantastic. It's great, and it should be part of your library, and you'll learn a lot from it if you don't know it. But one of the exercises in there, hold on, let me get my violin. Somebody had asked about exercises doing high 2, low 2, high 2, and I'm trying to remember it, and if I get it, it might not be perfect, but it's something like this, where, let's see. So it's something like that. So it's just sliding up. And then it goes across the strings. You can do it with the different fingerings, but it's in that the Paul Rowland DVD, and that's a good one to get that motion of that from this angle, the different angles for the high 2, low 2, maybe high 3, low 3, and 1, 1, 1, moving back and forth. So it's that. I hope that answers that question. I read earlier, and I posted that I would figure out what it was and demonstrate a little bit of it. So I think that's it. Okay, great. All right, so thank you very much. We're done for today. And next week we have the Vamoses on. It's Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. We'll post again, and we'll put up our the link. And I believe that she is going to, well, they're going to be there to answer any questions you might have for them. She's going to talk about more working with the more advanced students, which will be nice. And I think she's going to demonstrate and talk about all openings. I had asked about her sequence of repertoire for her concerto sequence and how she what her sequence is for teaching her students. And I think what she's going to do is she's going to talk about these openings of all these concertos and do demonstrating for us of the openings of all the major concertos. So anyway, that should be very exciting. And then the following week, I think, again, the following Tuesday, and again, we'll post this, we're going to have Phyllis Freeman and Rebecca Henry from Peabody, and Phyllis Freeman from the Maryland Talent Center, and also her website, Classical City, wait a minute, I always mix this up, classicalmusiccity.com. And this is a huge resource that if you don't know it, go on there and just start looking. It's fantastic. So they're going to be on. We're going to talk about, they also have their site, the violinpractice.com. And so they're going to talk about their site and I think social media. And then, of course, I would just like to ask them questions about their teaching. They're both fantastic teachers. So we can have a lot of questions for them. And also running violin programs. They both have violin programs that they run and in different ways. So that'll be interesting to spend time with Rebecca and Phyllis. So thank you, everybody. Thanks to the teachers. Have a wonderful Friday, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Say goodbye, Mama. Bye. Okay, see you later.